Hello and welcome to Intermission at Folk Night at the Registry. I'm Jan Vanderhorst. Now let's spend some time with tonight's performer, Lennie Gallant. Welcome, Lennie, to Kitchener and to Folk Night.
Nice to be here.
And should I also introduce you as a psychic for the Blue Jays? You've called the home runs for the last 2 games.
You may do that. Yes, you may. Or you can just refer to me as fortune teller.
Okay, exactly. Wonderful. Your brand new album is called Shelter from the Storms. It's your 16th album. That's a lot of songs over a lot of years. Has your approach or philosophy to songwriting changed in all that time?
That's an interesting question. I find that I tend to write songs probably more quickly than I did in other days, but that possibly is more a sense of necessity, more than a philosophy. Just that the being on tour and the business of keeping a career alive in this business, it takes a lot of time, and I wish I had more time to just spend on the music alone. But when I do, I really enjoy it. I get totally immersed in it, and I find in a strange kind of way that I tend to actually write songs more quickly these days, and not spend so much time on them. I know in the past sometimes I'd spend weeks, just on a particular song. That's a little bit more rare that happens now.
Right.
But I think that in terms of where songs come from, I think it's always been kind of the same thing. It's events in my own life, perhaps a phrase that someone says that I think is really interesting, a story, perhaps from a painting I've seen or a book I've read. I get inspiration. I try to remain open to the world around me, and maybe that sometimes certain things come in different ways when you're trying to remain open, like who's going to hit the next home run, I don't know, maybe I should explain that for your
Yeah,
viewers.
yes, go right ahead.
It was interesting in my show in Brighton a couple of days before the end of the last series, the Jays against the Mariners. I said to the audience that before the last game that George Springer was going to hit the winning home run, and he did, and in that show. So the next show we did was just the day before the World Series opener, and we were playing at Hughes Room, and they were filming it, and I mentioned that I had predicted the home run winner, and I said, and tomorrow night, Alejandro Kirk is going to hit a home run in the 6th inning. I decided to be specific, and lo and behold, he did that in the 6th inning. And after the show, we did a show the night of the game, and people were coming up to me after the show and telling me, "You predicted that," and it was crazy how that happened.
On the new album, there's also a song called "On the Minnehaha," which is about a real living person.
Yeah.
What are the challenges in writing a song about someone who is still alive, trying to get the song right?
It's really interesting, Kirsten Newshaper is the person I wrote the song about, and her boat, the Minnehaha. She is a very, very interesting person, quite an adventurer, incredibly courageous. She has had many adventures I could talk for half an hour about before she decided to learn how to sail. She wanted to really understand the oceans and the world and sailboats. And she took many, many jobs delivering boats across the ocean, across the Atlantic, down to the Antarctic. And then she decided she wanted to enter the world's most dangerous sailing race, the Golden Globe, solo around the world sailing race on a small boat, less than 36 feet. And you have to abide by the rules of 1967, so you can't use any modern technology. You have to go all the way around the world just using only a sextant. And she found a boat on Newfoundland that she fell in love with, but it needed a lot of work. Because of COVID, she couldn't get to where she wanted to repair the boat. She almost accidentally ended up on Prince Edward Island. Met up with a bunch of friends of Patricia and myself who fell in love with her dream of being in this race. Spent a year getting her boat ready, and Patricia and I became friends with her at that time. And then, a year later, exactly a year later, she arrived in the middle of the winter, by the way. Mm-hmm. She left in the middle of the winter all by herself. I was trying to convince her to take somebody with her at least before you start the race. No, she wanted to get to know her boat. She left in the middle of January from Prince Edward Island, sailed all the way to South America, across to South Africa to say goodbye to her folks before, and then up to France to start the race. 16 professional seasoned sailors in this race, and she was the only woman. And despite taking a day and a half off to save a fellow sailor whose boat sank, and she had to save him, put him on a freighter, very dangerous race, several boats sank during the race. And she didn't know until she crossed the finish line, and after 235 days alone at sea, all the way around the world, just using a sextant. She didn't know till she crossed the finish line, because there's no communication with the outside world, that she actually won. She was in first place when she crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
And when she was going around Cape Horn, about a month before the end of the race, I was so inspired by her courage and determination, I sat down and wanted to write a song about her. And I've had some deep ocean experience myself, so I knew what I was writing about, because I had made a couple of ocean passages. 3 of us had sailed a schooner on the Atlantic a couple of times in the month of November, which was pretty crazy. But so I knew what I was writing about, and I was able to put that down on the page, and it actually was one of those songs that came quite quickly. Interestingly enough, she's writing a book right now and gave me an early manuscript, and I read it. And while she was going around Cape Horn, it was a very cathartic experience for her, because she was alone. She managed to contact the lighthouse keeper at Cape Horn while she was going around Cape Horn, thinking that there was no connection whatsoever, and could she even raise him?
Yeah.
He came on the horn and he said to her, "Kirsten, oh my God, it's you!" And it was at that moment she realized that the world was watching her, and it was such a moving experience, very emotional. And that's exactly the moment that I was writing the song about her, not knowing that she was having this interaction. So it was kind of interesting, all these forces coming together. And I truly believe that sometimes these forces are out there, and if you're a writer and you try to just leave yourself open, that you're picking up on some things. And as I was reading her book about the whole experience, I think I might have been picking up on that energy she was sending out into the world at that moment.
One of the other songs on the album is about Sable Island horses, and you and Patricia have done a video on the island, horses in the background. So it's a beautifully put together video. Tell me about being on Sable Island, because you only be there for a day at a time.
Yeah, I have a very good friend, Fred Stillman. He runs an expedition program. He's able to take people out there to visit the island, just 6 people, 7 people at a time. And we were talking about the fact that very few people know that the horses of Sable Island are thought to be the descendants of horses that were taken from the Acadians during the expulsion of 1755. They were taken by Thomas Hancock, a relative of the famous John Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
And his job was to remove all the Acadians, which was a terribly tragic, sad story. But he also helped himself to the livestock at the time, and apparently put the livestock on Sable Island so that they would multiply, and his idea was to come back and then retrieve them later and sell them off. And they did a bit of that, but I guess it probably proved a bit difficult to do. And eventually the horses were abandoned, and they've lived there on their own since that period of time, since the mid-1700s. And it's really a magical island, anywhere approximately 500 horses, wild horses, are there at any time. And so we ended up going over, Patricia and I, and spent the day. The first time we went over, and my friend Fred said it was amazing. He said it was the best weather and the most horses he's ever seen, and he's done 80 trips.
Wow.
And we came back, and we were so moved by what we saw. We wrote a song in French the first time, which we put on our Sirene Matelot album, because it is an Acadian story. We thought it would work well in French. And then I said, I think this will work in English as well, and translated it into English and put it on my Lennie Gallant album, Shelter from the Storms, and I really liked the way it turned out. Right. So we went back the second time after we had written the song to get some footage and film a few things to put into the video. And on both trips, we did a little concert, a mini concert in amongst the dunes for the few people that came out with us, and a couple of park employees who were there. And it was so cool. On the second time, we did a concert in amongst the dunes. some of the horses gathered around while we were singing, and it was really cool to sing about the Sable Island horses and have some of the Sable Island horses actually there.
Right.
It was fabulous. You know.
Now, we just have about a minute left, but I want to touch on your song Peter's Dream, which is in the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you to have that song in such a prestigious location?
Oh, it's in the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, which means the world to me to have a piece of my work in amongst the collection of so many of my songwriting heroes. You know, that it really touched me deeply to have that happen. And I mean, you know, this business isn't about awards or anything like that, but to have your song recognized by you know, people who are in the business and other artists, it touches me. It means a lot.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great. Now it's time for the second half of tonight's concert.